March 21st, 1942 marks the birthday of the founder of modern Yemen, the late leader Ali Abdullah Saleh. Yemen experts say prisoner exchange deal is a positive development and a step in the right direction. On International Mother's Day, Yemeni women continue to suffer due to the conflict. Good evening. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. I'm Abir Ali and you are watching the English news. March 21st is a special day and it has a place in the hearts of Yemenis as it marks the birthday of the founder of modern Yemen, the former late President Ali Abdullah Saleh. The following report has more details.
On the 21st of March 1942, Yemen gave birth to the leader Ali Abdullah Saleh, who gave hope to the Yemenis and paved the way for prior generations. His childhood and his dreams were born amid an ignorant and poor environment, which restrained him with the chains of misery and suffering, as the Yemenis inherited them generation after generation for 1,000 years. Ali Abdullah Saleh, the child immersed in suffering like other children of Yemen, but this didn't surrender him to be on the list of prisoners of the Imamis. Ali Abdullah Saleh was not at the forefront of the political and military scene of Yemen. However, the Yemenis witnessed the political birth of Ali Abdullah Saleh, and it was the spark of light for many years. The greats leave their mark and are immortalized in the history books. And perhaps the achievements that were achieved during the era of the leader Ali Abdullah Saleh and the margin of freedom that the Yemenis lived for decades began to fade and disappear after the Houthi militias' power took over the state institutions and control over them by force of arms. And the attempt to produce the era of priesthood again makes the Yemenis recall the exploits of the leader Ali Abdullah Saleh on his birthday with great sorrow and grief. They recall the many giant projects that befell the country during his rule, most notably the road network, airports, health centers, schools and universities, as well as the visual, print and audio media, the wide margin of freedom and political partnership that didn't exclude anyone.
Fatima Asrar, a Yemen expert working with the Middle East Institute, told Yemen Today TV that prisoner exchange deal between the government and the Houthis is a major constructive step and could pave the way to peace in Yemen. The expert's statement comes during the weekly interview program, The Third Dimension. We may draw our viewers' attention that the full exclusive interview with Fatima Asrar will be aired next Thursday at 11:10 p.m. Sana'a time.
If I may start, Fatima, with the breaking news now coming from Geneva, that the Yemeni government and the Houthis have reached a deal of prisoner exchange. How do you comment on this? And do you think, are we starting to see the first fruit of the Saudi-Iran rapprochement?
Thank you, Dr. Hassan. It's a great thing. The issue of the prisoners' exchange has been a contentious issue for a while, and I think the fact that it is moving now after just a lull in peace agreement, and especially after the failure of the extension of the ceasefire agreement, that it is moving now. It is a positive development, and it means that the back channel negotiations are moving at a pace that is probably more practical than the formal agreements that we've had, whether in Stockholm or in the recent ceasefire agreement. So it seems that these deals have managed to maybe build a little bit more trust between the warring parties.
A gentle reminder, ladies and gentlemen, we may draw the attention of our viewers' attention that the full exclusive interview with Fatima Asrar will be aired next Thursday at 11:10 p.m. Sana'a time. The U.S. administration welcomed the announcement by the parties to the conflict on the exchange of 880 detainees sponsored by the United A spokeswoman for the U.S. National Security Council said this agreement represents a step to build on the positive climate. The statement praised the efforts made by the UN Special Envoy and the International Committee of the Red Cross to reach this agreement. The United Nations Special Envoy Hans Grundberg announced yesterday that the warring parties in Yemen have reached a prisoner exchange deal and called on the parties to build on such a positive step to work for sustainable peace. This report has more.
After 10 days of discussions to address the tragic 8-year-old conflict in Yemen, the United Nations Special Envoy for Yemen announced on Monday the planned release of 887 conflict-related detainees from all parties. The current round of discussions concluded with some positive outcomes, according to the Monitoring Committee on the Implementation of the Detainees Exchange Agreement. Yemen's almost decade-long conflict and the immense protracted humanitarian crisis that ensued began in 2014, when Houthi insurgent forces took control of the country's capital and largest city, Sana'a. After extensive diplomatic efforts, the warring parties agreed to a truce in April 2022. During the most recent round of negotiations, the parties agreed on implementation plans to release the detainees and to reconvene in mid-May to consider additional releases. They also committed to exchange joint visits to each other's detention facilities and to enable access to all detainees during these visits. Grundberg asked the parties to expedite the execution of the releases and to build on Monday's outcome by agreeing on more releases. In 2018, the parties signed the Stockholm Agreement, which outlined 3 areas for action: prisoner exchanges, a ceasefire, and civil society participation along the road to peace. In addition, Grundberg urged the parties to release additional detainees on an ongoing basis and unilaterally, noting that this development is a step in the right direction for the parties to fulfill their obligation under the Stockholm Agreement to release detainees related to conflicts. While the overall environment has stabilized since 2022, concerns persist as Yemen deals with economic difficulties and parties' attempts to end the conflict, which has caused millions of people to be displaced and left many families struggling to survive. In 2022, aid agencies assisted nearly 11 million people every month. Much remains to be done, Grundberg has said. A comprehensive and sustainable end to the conflict is necessary if Yemen is to recover from the devastating toll the 8-year conflict has had on its men and women. Addressing the Security Council on March 15, the Special Envoy said much had been achieved over the past year, and now it is time for the next step. The parties must seize the opportunity presented by this regional and international momentum to take decisive steps towards a more sustainable future, he said. That requires patience and a long-term perspective, and this requires courage and leadership.
The International Organization for Migration of the United Nations announced the displacement of 28 Yemeni families during the past week. In its weekly report, the organization said that between March 12th and 18th, the displacement matrix tracked 28 families representing 168 individuals who were displaced at least once. They indicated that the displacement moved to the governorates of Marib, Taiz, and Hodeidah. A huge fire broke out today in a shopping mall in Sana'a. According to preliminary information, the fire destroyed the exhibition and stores of Dubai Game Center and caused great material losses. This is the second fire accident within hours in Sana'a, after the burning of Al Jabali stores for motorcycles spare parts south of the city. Head of the PLC, Rashad Al-Alimi, called for a settlement between the tribes in Al Jawf. He praised in a meeting with the governor of Al Jawf and a number of sheikhs the roles of the people of Al Jawf in ending the Houthi coup. In Taiz, the Women's Initiative to Improve the Quality of Health Services conducted a hearing session on the importance of improving the quality of health services in the 3 districts. The hearing is a part of the Community Accountability Project in partnership with the Yemeni organization and funded by the Safar World Organization as part of the Active Communities Project for Building Progressive Peace.
We implemented today an event to improve the quality of health services in Taiz, and it was attended by a number of head officers of healthcare in some directorates.
We benefited from this workshop, which discussed the current conditions and some issues which are confronted by some hospitals, lack some medicine and devices. We hope this workshop would continue to solve these problems.
While the world marks the International Mother's Day today, Yemeni women continue to struggle with the repercussions of the conflict. This report has more details.
Mother's Day is a celebration of motherhood and maternal bonds, which is observed on different dates throughout the world. It's a special day for all mothers and children because it honors their enduring love and affection for one another. Mothers are the emotional center of the family and have the power to mend all wounds and transform anything into something beautiful. But imagine being a mother in Yemen. The increasingly brutal conflict has resulted in the deaths of women due to complications during childbirth, and an alarmingly high number of babies are not living to see their first birthday. This is due to the severely damaged healthcare system in the country. Mothers and babies are among the most vulnerable people in Yemen. Every 2 hours, 1 mother and 6 newborns die as a result of pregnancy or birth complications. Women who are pregnant or nursing are particularly vulnerable when there is a lack of food. Acute malnutrition affects 1.2 million women who are pregnant or nursing, and if humanitarian funding is not provided, this number could double. Vital public services, including medical centers, are on the verge of a total collapse, which are extremely important to support mothers and babies. Even though there are some healthcare facilities operating, they still lack severe staffing, equipment, and medication shortages. The urgency of responding to starvation has overshadowed the delivery of routine primary healthcare services in a country deeply affected by the humanitarian crisis. This results in limited access for expectant mothers and newborns to a wider range of maternal and child health services, such as emergency and newborn care.
Coming next in the news. With the advent of the holy month of Ramadan, high prices continue to plague Yemenis nationwide.
رمضان مبارك.
Welcome back. As the holy month of Ramadan sets in, Yemenis across the country complain from high prices, especially of food commodities. This has placed extra burden on families who cannot secure basic necessities of life. The following report has more.
Until recent years, Ramadan in the countryside had its own special taste, which is distinguished from other urban areas. But the escalating wave of high prices has put so much pressure on the people.
Prices are extremely high in this year's Ramadan. We don't have money or salaries. People are living in dire conditions.
In the markets, visitors are suffering from the fact of only looking at foodstuffs without being able to buy them, as described by one of the residents in the region. This is preventing the people from enjoying Ramadan in the absence of any help by the authorities.
The prices for Ramadan are very high. We realize that people barely buy anything. They are unable to buy the basic necessities due to the high prices in the market. Where are the authorities to help us? We don't have anything. How are the people going to fast in Ramadan? The prices are insanely high.
With the insane rise in food prices and with the advent of the month of Ramadan, food traders say that the rise is a result of the increase in custom fees in unloading places. The high cost and the interruption of salaries is a concern that haunts the population in rural areas between Lahj and Taiz before the start of the blessed month of Ramadan.
The Ukrainian government announced that it loaded a new shipment of wheat, estimated at 30,000 tons for Yemen. For its part, the French embassy in Yemen said that the ship was sent by the World Food Programme. The Yemeni rial lost 6 points from recent gains against foreign currencies in Aden. The Yemeni rials scored more than 1,000 against the dollar. The recent government decision to raise the rate of customs has been faced with strong criticism by the people and even traders. This report has more.
Citizens in deliberated governorates rejoiced at the ruling of the administrative court in the interim capital Aden, which decided to stop the implementation of the government's decision to raise the price of the customs dollar. However, none of this happened. The government decision was described by lawyers and lawsuits against the government as coming at a time crowded with economic crisis. Even on the legal side, according to lawyers and experts, the decision lacked many legal justifications. Those justifications were considered by experts in law and economics as a quick and illogical treatment of the country's living problems.
The custom chain rate on the currency led to high prices in the markets. People are suffering from these high prices. They cannot afford the basic necessities. Both people and traders are suffering.
The prices are very high. Ramadan is only a few days away. We have no salaries and the people are suffering daily.
Observers believe that the government thought it would compensate for its losses as a result of the Houthi militia's threats to Yemeni oil ports, but it lost a lot as a result of its decision to raise the price of the customs dollar. Economists considered that such a decision should have been considered, especially since the government has many alternatives in non-oil revenue sectors.
The decision to raise customs exchange rate wasn't a governmental decision. The obstacle that led to this increase are the rise in the local currency against foreign currencies, high prices and lack of job opportunities.
The judiciary directed the government to stop implementing the decision to raise the new customs price. However, price hikes are still continuing in markets that lack control, without any regard for the conditions of citizens, in light of the low salaries and the continued collapse of the national currency against foreign currencies. The madness of prices and the greed of merchants that does not stop at any limit.
Here is a reminder of the main headlines. March 21st, 1942 marks the birthday of the founder of modern Yemen, the late leader Ali Abdullah Saleh. Yemen expert says prisoner exchange deal is a positive development and a step in the right direction. On the International Mother's Day, Yemeni women continue to suffer due to the conflict. This is the end of the news. It was Abir Ali, and thank you for watching.